What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host Rob Mann, and I have opinions.
Hi, and I'm Raymond Pennie, and I'm in very sunny Orkney in the far north of Scotland, and it brings me more opinions when I see such light.
Guys, just for reference, Orkney. By the way, sorry, we're gonna talk about a Microsoft Trends report pertaining to AI for 2026. But before that, I've been to Orkney twice. Raymond left me on the island of Orkney for 2 weeks when the sun came up
Yeah,
at 10 and went down at 3. That's probably the closest like, by the way, the 3 days, I don't know if I ever told you this, but 3 days before I left, I almost went crazy. I was like, I haven't hung out with other humans
where's the
besides
sun?
work.
Where's the sun?
Yeah, it was real bad. It got real bad. I was calling Mandy. I was like, I need to get off this island. Anyway, I probably should have stayed. If I knew better, I probably would have went to the bar at the hotel near the office and
That
hung
would have
out
been
more.
that would have been scary. That would have been scary.
Yeah, me and the Orcadians.
Orcadians, yeah, that would have been difficult.
Yeah, I would have had a great time. Listen, I would have just told them I know Martin Wishart, and they would have been like
And you'd have been
They would have
in.
probably beat me up. But anyway,
So,
yeah. So all right. Well, anyway, Raymond is up where the headquarters of Orkney is. My in-laws will actually be there soon, so I'm
brilliant.
excited. Sometime in July, I think. Yeah. They're taking a cruise and stopping in Orkney, and I was like, oh, you should go to Helgi's and get a haggis burger. It's my favorite
Yeah, I
burger.
was going to say, get haggis burger.
Yeah, it's the only
This
time I like
this
eating haggis.
this episode is brought to you by Helgi's,
Which no
the
one.
best
By the way,
haggis burger
if you
in
want to
Scotland.
find out where Kylo is based and where Raymond is currently, type in HELGI pub Orkney ORKNEY, and then realize that the sun doesn't rise up there. It's in line with Alaska, by the way. So that's how
Yeah,
far north it is. All right, let's
and in
get
the
to the
summer, it doesn't get dark.
Yes, that would drive me crazy too, but like I couldn't do it. Like Midsommar, like is that what we're doing? You
Yeah,
watched that movie, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, let's get to what we actually came to talk about, not geographical lines of latitude that affect how you get your sun during the day. Um, so Microsoft 2026 Work Trend Index Report, the C-Suite edition. I basically fed all of the data into Claude. The long and short of it is that people are ready for AI and to adopt AI, but organizationally, it seems to be that even Microsoft is seeing the writing on the wall that organizations themselves are not ready for AI. Raymond has some opinions on this. I'm going to give you the facts. Raymond's going to give you his opinions as he's dealing with all these staffing and recruiting organizations. They may not be the best representation of
But
the
it's what
rest
we
of the
know.
world, but they are a representation of a business in the world. We and Raymond, you can disagree with me. We tend to think that staffing organizations in general basically operate at a dinosaur pace, meaning they could go extinct if they don't actually speed up and avoid the comet that's coming their way or meteor. But that's my opinion. Do you agree with that opinion? You don't have to.
So some are moving really fast. Some are
What's
moving so fast that they're already at the far end and they've got agents doing things that used to be done by people in
how
order to
many? What's
concentrate.
the percentage of that?
I don't know, 5 out of 70. So
Got it. Okay.
6, 7, 8%, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So not a really
Not a huge number.
strong
Not a huge
industry
number.
indicator of progress. Okay. So the organizations are really the issue. Microsoft Trends Report argues that it's the actual structure of the organization, but let's jump into it here. So the headline that we came up with, your people are ready, your organization is not. The constraints for most companies isn't talent, it's culture, management, and structure. Organizations that bridge this gap are going to pull ahead way faster. So what we're going to, basically what they do is, or Microsoft does, is it breaks it down into different zones of where people are in their journey, organizations are in their journey. And we're going to talk about frontier, people in the frontier zone a little
Yep.
bit here. And then there's
Early adopters,
emergent,
right?
and then there's emergent and blocked, which
Yeah.
blocked is not a zone you
Yeah,
want
you
your
can't
business
do it.
in. Um, and then we're going to also talk about a little bit about emergent, but talk about frontier here for the most part. So so we need to identify this paradox, the transformation paradox that they talk about. The same urgency driving AI adoption, which there's like 65% fear they're falling behind, is killing meaningful transformation, where 45% feel safer sticking with old goals. Your systems reward consistency, not reinvention, so people adopt tools in silos instead of redesigning how they work. or just work in general, which I think Raymond and I both agree with. I could talk for Raymond. Half your workforce. So here's the issue, and here's what it's costing businesses. Half your workforce is operating in the emergent zone, but feeling constrained and blocked from innovation, unrealized productivity, and you're going to risk brain drain from your organization if you don't move into the frontier or into the higher level of emergent. Raymond, what say you about this paradox?
I think the paradox is probably right, but then you overlay. I don't think it's dependent upon the organization as a whole. I think it's dependent upon either departments or individual people. Some some departments, I don't know, I'll pick HR, maybe I'll pick finance, maybe I'll pick legal. They are less likely to be able to change very quickly because there's lots of regulation around how you report your accounts, how you work in HR, what you do with contracts, and they can't be changed very quickly. But then you've got people, maybe will head sales, will always pick on sales. Salespeople can turn on a dime, turn on a sixpence in the UK version, and they're much more ready to try stuff and see how it goes. And if it works, then they build their own little, I was going to say factory, but their own little process, and that process can be unbeknown to others. So I think there are different places they can go at different rates within an organization.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. My wife's an attorney. They don't move very quickly. I think
And they can't because they've got to wait for the law to change, right?
they also make the law, which is my favorite part of how they can keep their
Yeah.
jobs. It's like, you, what, what is, sorry, I'm a huge nerd. So there's a Star Wars book where one of the aliens in a cockpit, there was one, it was Starfighter based, right? And the one of the Starfighter pilots is this lawyer. And the lawyer goes, "Yeah, I was an alien, so I wasn't allowed to have any robots or AI in the courtroom with me. But the other human, and this is not to be like racist, but like the other human lawyers were allowed to. So the lawyers get to make their own rules about who gets to do what. All that to say, very interesting. If you've never read the Starfighter series, Raymond, it's pretty good. If you're a huge nerd like I am, sorry, little
I
too
also
much
think
info
there's
there.
a confidence thing where the if the output is wrong in some of these roles,
Oh yeah, it's
then
big stakes.
it's more acceptable in sales. Like, hey, it's wrong. I didn't make a sale, but it didn't
We
get
do
in the way
things
of the
wrong all
sale.
the
I was able
time.
to talk. I
Yeah.
managed to talk it out. You send somebody the wrong salary, or you sign a contract that's got the wrong things in it. Yeah, that's got knock on.
I mean, let's be honest. The wrong things in a contract, depending on what the contract's for.
Yeah.
But the legal cases, if you send the wrong discovery or if you so there's been a lot of instances of AI generating cases
Oh, making them up. Yeah.
and a lawyer citing it in a memo or like in a
Ah,
in a piece of legal document. And I was like, you could like this is like an early like 24. Like you could ask it to
yeah.
look it up, but you at least need to be responsible for validating if those
Yeah.
cases are real or not, right?
Yeah.
You based your
Sort of
entire
try and
legal
remember.
theory on this case and you didn't go look up anything if it was actually real. You're like, all right, bud, like you deserve to get whatever comeuppance is going to happen to you. Anyway,
Mm.
all right. So what is the Microsoft report talk about? It talks about leadership, so things that you need to do. Um, I really found this like number one immediate audit your culture gap. Why how many people in your culture or in your business are in the frontier, emergent, or block zones? You could survey them. If you're the CEO, publicly use AI for high stakes work and meetings, decisions, outputs. We talk about that multiple times, Raymond, already. Is you need to use, if you are the leader, you need to be using the things that you want people to be using, right? You are a great example of that, even if you do love crypto as much as you did.
All day long.
Raymond was like driving Kylo to build a blockchain resume tool back in the late, was it
We'll be there.
2021, 2022? Probably still has
We'll
it,
be
but
there. We'll be
anyway,
there.
he is a shining example of being a CEO who likes to embrace and test out and drive and break new technology. And then name the paradox. Call out the safety versus speed tension in meetings, in town halls, in
Yeah.
public. Acknowledge it's going to kill transformation, which I think any of those things that you disagree with is an immediate term. I think you were going to consult with somebody.
Yeah, I think go
Cool.
for that. Go for it.
Next is the medium term, so the next 2 to 3 months. So, or like 2 to 6, basically.
And where I disagree with this
Okay.
is because it uses the word month. And if you're
Oh,
going
you
to
think it's
go for it, it
faster?
needs to be the word week.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. Okay, so basically they're saying 2 to 6 months, but Raymond's like, hey, I think culturally though, it's a bigger thing. I think deploying, to me, I think what you're saying is you need to be testing and deploying things in weeks, not months. A
Yeah,
culture shift could be
that's a
impacted,
different game.
could be
Yeah.
impacted in weeks. Definitely takes more than a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, so here's what they've recommended: redesign performance management. So tie manager reviews to modeling AI use, reward reinvention, not just consistency. So time to get rid of they get the job done consistently and let them be a little bit more innovative. Revisit talent practices, identify people operating in collaboration and exploration models. So those people who are being innovative and trying new things, accelerate their growth. I know Raymond, I'm going to let
Yeah.
Raymond talk at the end here about what he thinks for AI is really going to help drive the needle and what you should deploy. I agree with what he's going to say. So I'll pause here on that. And then enable all 4 modes. Don't lock people into delegation only workflows. So this is a good time to bring up the modes that Microsoft identifies that people work in. So delegation, an example would be turn notes into a recap, pull recurring reports. Collaboration, refine proposal through feedback loops, iterative analysis. So when you're constantly like iterating and asking the AI to pull up something new or iterate on a sentence or a blog, then you're in the asking mode. So fact check, reformat, define, and then exploration mode. Probe what's possible, validate new workflows. So you're really building and you're going beyond traditional uses of what we call like generative. Like I call
Yeah.
kind of delegation. Collaboration is more AI and generative, and then asking is really just generative, right? A little, maybe you're asking it for what it thinks, but it like delegation and asking are very generative. Collaboration and exploration are getting more into what we think is agentic or what we're trying to describe as agentic. Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I guess so. I think the world of asking, I think, is changing. And if you're saying, hey, summarize this, then that's still in the world of asking. I think there's maybe a ask to review or ask for opinion kind of world. And I've got a couple of prompts that we'll share with people where I've created a review non-executive board and said, hey, here's an idea, here's business case, here's what it is. What am I not seeing in this? Can you review it through the eyes of these 6 non-executives and a view of what I'm suggesting? And it's to try and find the blind spot. And I think it's doing some good stuff there, even just to open your eyes. Hey, I've spent a long time looking at this. I think I'm good before I take it to everyone and everyone says, no, what have I missed? What may have I missed? And therefore the asking is an ask to review. So maybe it's a review stage or maybe it's an ask to
You
review stage.
created like personality profiles of non-executive. Non-executives, by the way, are just your board of advisors. If you don't
Yeah,
speak
that's right.
UK business, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear. I'm translating. I've that kind of bridged the gap between both.
I think you're doing well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have said non-executive to me before, and I've just looked at them
Yeah.
starry-eyed, like, "Come on, bro." Um, what is that? Anyway, all right. So getting back to what to do. So we talked about immediate, we talked about medium term, and then more strategic. Rebuild your operating model. Make learning system principles a core operating assumption. So capture, systemize how work products systemize how work produces insights, share, build feedback loops across teams, and embed feed learning back into processes, playbooks, and training. And redefine your management layer. Frontier firms manage differently when agents handle execution. There's fewer management layers, but there should be faster decisions. I like that. It's kind of what you were doing with the
Yeah.
board of non-executives is trying to get the decisions faster.
Or even have more challenge before it becomes, hey, I'm finished.
Yeah. Okay. And then the frontier business difference is they don't just adopt faster. They are changing. They're redesigning how work gets done. So the culture in your business has to change. How you hire talent has to change. How you structure the business has to change, and how you're teaching and doing L&D has to change. So really, all of it to say, the way that we work. I think we've said this before, Raymond, has to change.
Yeah.
So I'll let you jump into what you think the best way to get AI deployed is. Now we talked about before.
So this week that's just gone by, both OpenAI and Anthropic bought or partnered with consultancies who operate with forward deployed engineers, where they realize that they can get to a certain level of adoption, but in order to get strong adoption, the person needs to live and breathe the organization you're in. Now, that used to be custom development, but now it's hey, I'm going to generate and work with you to generate agents, to create, agents still that work. I'll get you some workflows that use AI, and I'm going to embed them and hang around to make sure they work and change them to make them fit. I think we've gone through the stage where, hi, I've got an AI tool. It's really shiny. Let me demo it. Would you like to buy it? Thanks very much. Send me some money. Goodbye. I think it has to be more iterative than that. And the fact that both of them made investments in this forward deployed engineer thing shows where we've got to. Topic is hard. Making change is hard. Making change where one end of the piece of string keeps moving is even harder. And then being able to find people who understand it and can convert it from amazingly techy stuff that changes every day through to something that you can explain to your team is even harder still. And it's either the biggest opportunity we've ever seen or the hardest thing we're ever going to try, but both of which is fun.
Yeah. So just to kind of recap, these firms are deploying basically. I mean, sounds like a good use of a staffing company, Raymond, deploying these forward.
That's where I'm heading. That's where I'm heading. It's an opportunity for staffing people to have a non-traditional contractor in play with a client, but they may be on a different pay method. So it may be some other arrangement rather than hours. It may be agents, it may be adoption, it may be some other output-based metric, not the input of time. Because the input of time is you go to Claude Code, you go, hey, write me a program that does this, and it just does it. So the time that used to be, hey, I need to create a spec, I need to do da-da-da-da-da, all these things, and then it was a big number, that's going away in the first instance, because it's much harder to get a proof of concept to get some work. Where it starts getting difficult is when you want to industrialize it. And when you want to industrialize it, that's where you need to go back to, okay, how do they sign in? How do they log out? What happens with the data? Where does the data live? How does it fit with the other things you've got? But AI gives you that proof of concept really quickly. And I think we were saying just before we went on to record, maybe 1 in 15 to 1 in 20 firms are able to do this, and the ones who are able to do it, I think, are smaller. They're either smaller or they build it LLMs.
Yeah.
They're the two people that can do it.
Well, we also have like a 200-person firm like IDR, right? That's doing it with Will. But Will is the COO, so like he can do what he wants and can build. So, all right, awesome. So guys, if we'll link the report here. Maybe I'll pull out the document and the summary that I created and put it in its own document, and then you can go in and review what we actually just covered for you guys.
And maybe one last thing.
Yeah.
Maybe one last thing on it where they speak about how do you take this to the board? If anyone knows how to take this to the board, please can they send it in? Because that would be the best thing they could ever share. How do you influence people who maybe don't quite get it? And I don't mean get it. They understand the concept, but they need to be doing it themselves. And I think, like you said, the people who are making the most thing are the people who are curious and making things work themselves. If you haven't vibe coded something, then you should try.
Yeah, I've vibe coded a few things. I haven't done it recently, but I keep vibe coding random things for myself.
Way better. Way, way, way better.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Great chatting. Thank you.
Great. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into RQ, the Rob and Raymond Talk recruitment, AI automation, same stuff, training. If you found anything of use in this episode, if you learned something, if we made you think, if you're going to bring something back to your team, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. We appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy. Cheers.